First contact in the mist. The mist rolled across the surface of Nova 7 like liquid mercury, reflecting the pale purple light of its twin moons. Commander Alina Reyes adjusted her environment suit's filters, watching the readings fluctuate on her heads-up display. 6 months into their colonization mission, and the planet still managed to surprise them with new atmospheric anomalies every week. Base, this is Reyes, picking up some unusual energy signatures about 2 clicks north of Outpost Delta, she reported, her boots leaving faint impressions in the phosphorescent moss beneath her feet. The ancient forest around her pulsed with soft blue light, each beat synchronized like a vast, alien heartbeat. Copy that, Commander. Readings confirmed. Maintain safe distance and continue observation. Lieutenant Marcus Wung's voice crackled through her comm system. Alina smiled slightly at his cautious tone. The young officer had good instincts. She pressed forward, her handheld scanner painting ghostly images of the surrounding terrain. The energy signature grew stronger, its pattern unlike anything their instruments had recorded before. The trees here were different, massive trunks twisted into impossible shapes, their bark embedded with crystalline formations that seemed to respond to her presence. A sound caught her attention, not quite a whisper, not quite a song. It danced at the edge of her consciousness, almost familiar yet utterly alien. Alina froze, her training warring with her curiosity. The mist thickened around her, and for a moment she could have sworn it moved against the wind. Commander Reyes, we're picking up multiple biorhythm signatures converging on your position. Wung's voice held an edge of urgency now. Recommend immediate withdrawal. But Alina couldn't move. The mist had taken shape, forming into a tall, ethereal figure. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but composed of swirling patterns of light and shadow. 2 points of intense white light regarded her from what might have been a face. Your kind seeks knowledge, the figure spoke, its voice resonating directly in her mind. But you do not understand the price of what you seek. Alina's throat went dry. First contact. After all their careful exploration, all their scientific studies, first contact was happening here now in this ghostly forest. We come in peace, she managed, falling back on years of diplomatic training. We seek only to understand. The figure's light patterns shifted, creating an impression of sad amusement. Understanding is not always a gift, Commander Alina Reyes. Sometimes it is a burden that breaks those who carry it. Before Alina could respond, more figures emerged from the mist, their forms less defined, their voices a chorus of whispers that made her head spin. The primary figure raised what might have been a hand, and suddenly Alina's suit readings went haywire. Your people must leave this place, the being's voice grew urgent. The whispers are awakening, and they hunger for new voices to add to their collection. We cannot protect you. The forest around them began to pulse faster, the crystalline formations in the trees emitting a high-pitched tone that made Alina's teeth ache. She took a step back, her training finally overriding her fascination. Base, requesting immediate extraction. We have a situation. But as she turned to retreat, she realized with growing horror that the mist had completely surrounded her, and within its swirling depths, shadows moved with terrible purpose. Echoes of ancient secrets. The emergency extraction team found Commander Reyes unconscious at the edge of the luminescent forest, her suit systems completely drained of power. Dr. Nikolai Volkov, the colony's chief xenobiologist, stood before the gathered emergency council 12 hours later, his weathered face grave as he presented his findings. The crystalline formations we discovered embedded in her suit are unlike anything we've encountered, he explained, gesturing to the holographic display. The crystal fragments rotated slowly above the conference table, their internal structure pulsing with a faint, rhythmic light. They appear to be some form of data storage medium, but far more advanced than our current technology. Captain Jun Zhao, the colony's military commander, leaned forward. And you're certain these weren't present in the area before? Positive, Nikolai replied, his Russian accent thickening with excitement. What's more fascinating is that they're attempting to interface with our systems. Look at this. He tapped a command into his tablet, and the hologram shifted to show waves of energy emanating from the crystals. The council chamber fell silent as they watched the patterns form into recognizable shapes. Star charts, molecular structures, and what appeared to be ancient writing systems, all floating in the air before them. It's a message, Dr. Amara Akafer, the team's linguistics expert, breathed. Her dark eyes were wide with wonder as she studied the symbols. Or perhaps a warning. These patterns. They're similar to petroglyphs we've found in other locations, but far more complex. Lieutenant Wang shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Commander Reyes mentioned beings in the mist. Could this be related? Before anyone could respond, the lights in the chamber flickered. The holographic display warped, the images twisting into new configurations. A deep hum filled the room, making everyone's teeth vibrate. "Shut it down," Captain Zhao ordered, but Nikolai was already trying. The crystals pulsed brighter, and suddenly the air was filled with whispers, countless voices speaking in languages both human and decidedly not. Dr. Ockhaffer's tablet began transcribing frantically. It's telling a story," she said, her fingers flying across the screen. "About something called the voice collectors. There's some kind of ancient species that—" She broke off as the whispers grew louder, more insistent. The security system blared a warning. "Multiple power fluctuations detected across the colony," the AI announced. "Unknown energy signatures detected in sectors 7 through 12. Captain Zhao was on his feet instantly. "Full lockdown, now." But as the blast doors began to close, mist started seeping through the ventilation system, bringing with it those same ghostly whispers. "The crystals," Nikolai shouted over the growing chaos. "They're not just data storage, they're some kind of beacon." Through the thickening mist, shapes began to form. Tall, ethereal figures like the ones Commander Reyes had described, but these were different. Where the first beings had seemed cautionary, these new entities radiated hunger. Their forms were sharper, more predatory, composed of shadow rather than light. Dr. Ockhaffer's tablet suddenly displayed a clear message. "The archive must not be OPENED. The VOICES must remain silent." The mist creatures pressed closer, their whispers becoming a cacophony of stolen voices. Each word they spoke seemed to drain energy from the room's systems, leaving patches of darkness that spread like ink in water. "Get everyone out," Captain Zhao ordered, drawing his sidearm. But the darkness was spreading too quickly, and the whispers had become a song, beautiful, terrible, and impossible to resist. In the chaos, Nikolai clutched the crystal samples to his chest, their light now the only thing holding back the encroaching shadows. He could feel them trying to communicate, not through sound or light, but directly into his mind. Images flashed through his consciousness, vast archives of accumulated knowledge, the collected wisdom of 1,000 civilizations, and the terrible price that came with accessing such power. The voice collectors had found them, drawn by humanity's insatiable curiosity. And now, in the depths of space, far from Earth, the colony would have to face the consequences of awakening something that should have remained forever silent. Shadow dancers. Through the darkened corridors of the colony base, Dr. Nikolai Volkov ran with the crystal clutched against his chest, its pulsing light casting strange shadows on the walls. Behind him, the whispers grew louder, a symphony of stolen voices calling his name in 1,000 different ways. Each one sounded like someone he knew, someone he trusted, begging him to stop and listen. "The emergency bunker is 2 levels down," Captain Zhao's voice crackled through his earpiece. "Dr. Ockhaffer has found something in the translations. We need those crystals." A shadow detached itself from the wall ahead, forming into a towering figure of rippling darkness. Nikolai skidded to a halt, his breath catching in his throat. The being had no face, just a void where features should be, but he could feel its hunger radiating like cold waves. "The knowledge you carry," it spoke with the voice of his dead wife. "Give it to us, and we will share with you the secrets of the universe." Nikolai's heart clenched at the sound of that beloved voice, but he forced himself to focus on the crystal's warm pulse against his palm. "You're not her," he whispered, backing away slowly. "She would never ask me to surrender knowledge that could harm others." The figure rippled, its form stretching impossibly tall. "We are the collectors, the preservers. We safeguard the wisdom of ages. Why do you resist?" From behind Nikolai, Commander Reyes' voice cut through the darkness. "Because that's what humans do." She stood in a protective suit, holding what looked like a modified plasma torch. "We resist when things try to take what isn't theirs." The torch flared to life, releasing a burst of energy that matched the crystal's frequency. The shadow being recoiled, its form dissolving momentarily into mist. Elena grabbed Nikolai's arm. "Run, now." They sprinted through the corridors, Elena's torch keeping the shadows at bay. "The crystal showed me things while I was unconscious," she explained between breaths. They're not preservers, they're parasites. They don't just take voices, they steal entire consciousnesses, entire civilizations' worth of knowledge. The translations confirm it, Dr. Akafer's voice came through their comms. They've done this across galaxies, leaving empty worlds behind. Each crystal is a warning left by their victims. They reached a sealed door, and Alina quickly entered an override code. Inside, Captain Zhao and Dr. Akafer had transformed the science lab into a makeshift fortress. Strange devices hummed along the walls, creating a barrier of light that kept the whispers at bay. The crystals aren't just data storage, Dr. Akafer explained, her fingers flying over a complex array of equipment. They're fragments of a defense system created by an ancient race, the same beings Commander Reyes first encountered. Look. She activated a holographic display, showing a network of crystalline structures spanning the planet's surface. It's a planetary quarantine system. The voice collectors were trapped here eons ago, but our arrival weakened the containment. The crystal in Nikolai's hands pulsed brighter, and suddenly the room filled with a projection, a tall, luminous being like the one Alina had met in the forest. "We are the Guardians," it spoke, its voice resonating with multiple harmonies. "We have watched over this prison for millennia, keeping the collectors contained. But now they have tasted your voices, sensed your knowledge, and they will not stop until they have consumed all that you are." Captain Zhao stepped forward. "How do we stop them?" "The crystals are keys," the Guardian replied. "Each one contains a fragment of the power needed to reinforce the containment field, but using them requires a sacrifice, a voice freely given to power the system." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Someone would have to give up their voice, their very identity, to save the colony. The question was who? Before anyone could speak, the barrier of light flickered. Shadow tendrils began seeping through the walls, and with them came the whispers, growing stronger with each passing moment. They were running out of time. The crystal pulsed once more, and in its light, Nikolai saw a vision of countless worlds, each one silent and empty, their inhabitants reduced to whispers in the void. He looked at his companions, Alina's determination, Amara's brilliance, Jun's strength, and made his decision. But as he opened his mouth to volunteer, a new sound cut through the whispers, a sound that would change everything. The voice of sacrifice. The new sound pierced through the whispers like a blade of pure light, a song, but unlike any they had ever heard before. Commander Reyes recognized it instantly. "The forest," she breathed. "It's singing." Through the lab's reinforced windows, they could see the bioluminescent trees pulsing with intense light, their crystalline formations resonating in harmony. The voice collector's whispers became discordant, confused. Lieutenant Wang's voice crackled through the comm system. "Multiple energy signatures detected across the planet's surface. The forest it's activating something." Dr. Akafer's eyes widened as she studied the readings. "The trees, they're not just trees. They're part of the containment system. The Guardians didn't just build a prison, they built an entire ecosystem to maintain it." The crystal in Nikolai's hands grew warmer, its light synchronizing with the forest's pulse. The holographic Guardian flickered back to life, its form more urgent now. "The forest song offers you a chance, but you must act quickly. The collectors are weakened by the resonance." Captain Zhao stepped forward, his face set with determination. "You said a voice was needed. Take mine." "No," Commander Reyes interrupted. "It should be me. I made first contact. I'm responsible for—" "Wait," Nikolai held up his hand, the crystal casting strange shadows across his face. "Look at this." He pointed to new symbols appearing in the holographic display. "The translation. It's not just about a single voice, it's about harmony." Dr. Akafer rushed to her console, fingers flying across the keys. "He's right. The containment system doesn't need a sacrifice, it needs a chorus. A harmony of different voices, freely given, each contributing a different frequency." The shadows pressed closer, the barrier of light flickering dangerously. The voice collector's whispers grew more desperate, more enticing, offering knowledge, power, immortality, anything to prevent what was coming. "How many voices?" Captain Zhao demanded. "4," Dr. Akafer replied. "4 voices, 4 frequencies, 4 parts of the harmony." Commander Reyes looked at her companions, the soldier, the scientist, the linguist, and herself, the explorer. "It's us," she said softly. "It has to be us." The Guardian's form shimmered. "You understand then, Not a sacrifice of destruction, but one of creation. Your voices will not be lost. They will be transformed, becoming part of the symphony that keeps the darkness at bay. Nikolai placed the crystal in the center of the room. Around it, 4 smaller crystals emerged from the floor, each pulsing with a different color. Like a barbershop quartet from hell, he muttered, managing a small smile. The barrier flickered again, and this time sections of it collapsed entirely. Shadow figures poured into the room, their whispers rising to a screech of victory, but they were too late. Commander Reyes took her position by the first crystal, its blue light washing over her face. Captain Zhao stood before the red crystal, his military bearing unwavering. Dr. Akafor approached the green crystal, her hands steady despite her fear. And Nikolai, taking a deep breath, stepped up to the purple crystal. Together, Elena said, looking at each of them in turn. For the colony, for Earth, for all the voices that would be lost if we fail. As the shadows reached for them with hungry tendrils, the 4 began to sing. It wasn't a song they knew, it came from the crystals themselves, ancient and powerful. Their voices blended together, creating something entirely new, something that made the very air vibrate with possibility. The forest joined them, its song rising in perfect harmony with theirs. The crystals blazed with light, and for a moment everything else fell away. There was only the song, the light, and the 4 of them, their voices weaving together in patterns that defied normal physics. The voice collectors screamed, not with stolen voices now, but with their own true sound, a horrible discord that had no place in the symphony being created. The shadows began to retreat, pushed back by waves of harmonic energy that rippled out from the crystals. But as their voices rose higher, stronger, something unexpected began to happen. The Guardian had spoken of transformation, but none of them had truly understood what that meant. Now, as the song reached its crescendo, they began to see the truth, and it was both beautiful and terrifying. Their voices, their very beings, were becoming something more than human, something that would echo through the ages. And in that moment of transformation, they finally understood the true nature of the choice they had made, the price of knowledge. The transformation began as a ripple of light that flowed through their bodies like liquid starlight. Commander Reyes felt it first, her voice no longer just sound, but pure energy that connected her to the planet's ancient defense network. Through the crystalline matrix, she could sense everything. The forest's vast consciousness, the trapped voice collectors, and most surprisingly, the echoes of civilizations long past. "I can see them," she gasped between notes of the eternal song. "All the worlds they visited, all the voices they took." Dr. Akafor's voice took on an otherworldly resonance as the green crystal's energy surged through her. "The knowledge! It's overwhelming. Entire histories, sciences we never dreamed of." Her words shifted seamlessly back into the harmony that held the shadows at bay. Captain Zhao's military discipline held even as the red crystal's power transformed him. His voice carried the strength of 1,000 warriors, each note a battle cry against the encroaching darkness. The collectors, they're not just retreating, they're being drawn into something. Nikolai, bathed in purple light, saw it clearly. "A pocket dimension," he sang, the scientific understanding flowing through him like a river. "The original prison, but it's different now. We're not just containing them." His eyes widened with revelation. "We're changing them." The voice collectors' forms began to twist and shift, their shadowy essence caught in the harmonics of the 4-part song. The whispers of stolen voices grew fainter, replaced by something new, a pure tone that resonated with the forest's song rather than fighting against it. Lieutenant Wang's voice crackled through what remained of the comm system. "Energy signatures are off the charts. Whatever you're doing in there, it's affecting the entire planet." Through their shared connection, the 4 singers understood what was happening. Their harmony wasn't just reinforcing the prison, it was rewriting the fundamental nature of the voice collectors themselves. The crystals had chosen them precisely because their unique combination of perspectives could bridge the gap between collection and creation. But the power came with a price. With each passing moment, their human consciousness expanded, stretched across the crystalline network until individual identity began to blur. They were becoming part of something vast and eternal, guardians not just of this world, but of all voices everywhere. Dr. Akafor's scientific mind grasped the implications first. "We're creating a new kind of archive," she sang, her words carrying multiple harmonies. "Not a prison of stolen voices, but a library of freely given knowledge." Commander Reyes felt tears streaming down her face. though she never stopped singing. Through the crystal network, she could feel the joy of release as trapped voices finally found their freedom. But she could also feel herself changing, becoming something that was no longer entirely human. The choice, Captain Zhao's voice resonated with understanding. It wasn't about sacrificing our voices, it was about choosing to become their custodians forever. Nikolai's song carried a note of wonder. We're not losing ourselves, he realized. We're becoming part of the story itself, the next chapter in an epic that spans galaxies. The forest song reached a crescendo, and with it, their transformation accelerated. Their physical forms began to shimmer with the same ethereal light as the original guardians. The voice collectors, once creatures of shadow and hunger, were being reshaped into beings of pure harmony. But as their consciousness expanded across the crystalline network, they glimpsed something that shook them to their core. The voice collectors hadn't evolved naturally, they were created. And somewhere out in the darkness between stars, their creator was stirring, awakened by the changes taking place on this distant world. The four newly made guardians shared a moment of perfect understanding. Their transformation wasn't an ending, it was a beginning. They had stopped one threat, but in doing so, they had triggered something far larger. The true test was still to come. As the last shadows of the voice collectors merged with the harmonic matrix, Commander Reyes reached out through the network to the colony's survivors. Her voice, now carrying the weight of centuries, delivered a message that would change the course of human history. We have become something new, something necessary. The universe is vaster and stranger than we ever imagined, and it needs protectors who understand both the power of knowledge and the importance of how it's shared. We are no longer just human, but we haven't lost our humanity. We've expanded it. The crystals pulsed one final time, and the four transformed beings rose from the floor, their forms now composed of light and song. They had chosen to become part of the eternal chorus, knowing that their sacrifice might be the only thing standing between humanity and the darkness that had created the voice collectors in the first place. The age of whispers was ending. The age of harmony was about to begin.